Hello, welcome to part 4 of my Linux command line course. This video is a practical guide where I will help you refine your command line skills to quickly navigate the file system and to build complex directory structures using efficient relative path names. The subject of path names is extremely important as it touches most day-to-day operations. I would in fact say that understanding path names and learning how to use them efficiently is the most important command line skill, period. Let me start by introducing a new command called tree, which displays the file system as a diagram, showing how directories are connected and which files are associated with them. Here's a tree diagram of a directory called library located in my home directory. If you do not have the tree command available but are working on your own Linux system, you can install it easily. Here's how to install this command on a Debian-based system such as the Raspberry Pi OS or Ubuntu. The tree command output merges what you would typically see in the graphical file system manager, where both directories and files are displayed all together with all nodes unfolded. The tree output color scheme is similar to the output of the ls command, where directories are shown in blue and regular files are shown in the default foreground color, which happens to be white on my system. The tree nodes are shown in alphabetical order within each indentation level, but there are various tree command options to sort the output, for example, to show the directories first or to show hidden files. The manual is worth looking into as it explains the various options. By default, hidden files and directories are not shown, but just like the ls command, the tree command has a -a option, which will show all files and directories. Hidden files and directories under Linux have names that start with a period. Experienced users stick to the ls command to show file system contents, but the tree command is a great tool for beginners as it helps visualize the file system layout and makes it easier to learn path name usage. The key to understanding the tree output is in understanding the indentation lines. Each indentation level tells us what is inside of which directory and how the directories themselves are connected. For example, the library directory contains the backup, fiction, nonfiction, and poetry directories, as well as the membership ODT file. The fiction directory, in turn, contains the fantasy, mystery, romance, and science fiction directories, as well as index PDF file, and so on. I have used the graphical file manager up to now in this video series to demonstrate some of the file system concepts and to help you transition to the command line. It's time to take off the proverbial training wheels. From now on, I will mainly use the terminal and you will see the graphical interface only on occasion. Having the file system tree visualized allows us to quickly write path names to any of the nodes. As an example, noting that my present working directory is my home, where the library directory is, the relative path name to the self-help directory is library/nonfiction/self-help. Path names follow the tree nodes in a continuous fashion. Relative path names such as this one start from the present working directory, passing through connecting directories and ending with the target. Here, in order to reach the self-help directory, I need to pass through the library and nonfiction directory. Path names, unless they refer to a program file, cannot do anything, as they are simply human-readable descriptions where something is located. You would not use this specific path name on its own, and pressing enter right now will result in an error. The shell expects a command line to be a command or at least start with one. This path name will be useful if I place a command in front of it, for example cd. If you watched my previous videos, then you already know what path names are and that they come in 3 styles. I use the relative path name style here, and it happens to be the shortest out of the 3 choices available. Relative path names are often the shortest, but depending how far they go or how long the directory and file names are, even they can be lengthy to type. Luckily, the shell helps us to speed up the path name entry as it has an autocomplete feature available with existing files and directories. Let me go back to my home directory and demonstrate this super useful feature. For example, now I would like to go to the domestic directory. I start with the cd command, followed by L, and now instead of continuing with the library name, instead I press Tab, which activates the autocomplete. Somehow the shell knew that I wanted to type in library and completed the name for me. There's nothing magical about it. There is only one directory that starts with lowercase letter L in my home directory, so the shell assumed that I wanted that one. The autocomplete will even conveniently add the separator slash at the end to save me time. Let's continue. Now I press N, tab again, which will autocomplete nonfiction. The next directory to pass through is politics. I type the letter P to get started, then tab to autocomplete politics. Then I type D and tab again to autocomplete domestic. The path is finished, and I can press enter to execute the cd command with the mostly autocompleted path. You can ignore the autocomplete slash at the end of the domestic directory name. While you would normally not add it when typing the path name manually, a trailing slash at the end of a directory name is perfectly fine. This entire command, when typed manually, requires 42 keystrokes, while with the autocomplete it requires only 12. Big difference in terms of speed and way fewer chances of typos. The autocomplete feature works for going up the file system tree as well. For example, if I would like to go into the international directory, I start the path name with ... referring to politics. Now I type I, tab, and press enter. 9 keystrokes instead of 20 with autocomplete. Again, the autocomplete slash at the end does not matter, but you would not normally use it when typing directory names manually. Let's do one more. Now I want to go to the sports directory. I start with ... to go up to parent, which is politics, one more level up to reach nonfiction. Now I type S, but now for some reason nothing happens when I press tab. Autocomplete did not kick in. Did I make a typo somewhere? I can determine that by pressing tab again. Now the shell provided me with a short list of available choices. The issue is that there are 2 directories in the nonfiction directory that start with lowercase s here. Autocomplete needs something that identifies a file or directory uniquely in order to work. In this case, I need a second letter of the file name, a P, to clearly indicate that I want sports and not self-help. Now the autocomplete tab will work. Using the autocomplete feature does not just greatly improve path name entry speed, but also virtually eliminates the possibilities of mistyping a path name. If the first tab does not produce a result, then the second tab should produce a shortlist. Otherwise, there's something wrong with the path name until that point. For example, if I want to go into the food directory, I start with ... to reach the nonfiction parent, but now I will make a common beginner mistake trying to insert the nonfiction directory name actually into the path name. This is incorrect, as parent directories are represented just by the ... symbol, and we do not actually name them in the relative path name going up. I type N, incorrectly hoping to autocomplete nonfiction. Now I press tab, and nothing happens. I tap tab several times, nothing happens. Why? Because the path name I am writing is referring to something that has a name beginning with letter N inside of nonfiction, and there's no such item. If I back up and now press the tab twice, the available choices are shown to me. Now that I have been reminded what the choices are, I can finish the path name successfully by pressing F and tab to finish the path to food. Understanding the autocomplete and learning how to use it is essential. Make it a priority and use it all the time, including when referring to files. It is a great feature that is often underappreciated by beginners. Alright, now you have a better idea how to quickly navigate the file system tree. Let's go through a scenario of creating this library directory structure from scratch, so you can see how it came to life from the beginning. Creating such directory structure can be accomplished in just 2 commands. one for creating all the directories, and one for creating the files. On the other hand, you could use more than 30 commands here too. Neither extreme is optimal. I will make the structure now in about 6 commands, which will allow me to explain the process without overwhelming you. I will keep the tree diagram displayed for reference on the left, but will complete the actual work in the other terminal. The existing library directory needs to be removed in order to have a fresh start. Library structure is gone. Let's start by recreating the library directory. As all of the other content is inside library, it is worthwhile to use the cd command at this point to go in there in order to shorten all path names that will follow. The directories are made first. The order of creation is not that important. I will make them in the top-down order as shown on the tree diagram on the left. As many of the directories are nested, I will use the -p option to create the parent directories as needed. I start with the hidden backup directory. Now fiction and fantasy inside it. Mystery inside fiction and noir. Similar approach to create the thriller and true crime directories inside mystery. Let's not forget romance and science fiction. I could continue with this command by adding the paths to nonfiction and others. However, this command would get rather long, making it harder to understand. The shell is happy to wrap long commands and only run them once the enter key is pressed, but most humans, including myself, process shorter commands better. Let's run this command as is by pressing enter. Here is a tree diagram of the results so far. 9 directories have been created. Notice that I used the -a option to see the hidden backup directory, but did not include any path name with the tree command. Just like with the ls command, the present working directory is the default for the tree command if you omit the path name. The dot at the top of the diagram is a special symbol representing my present working directory, which is library right now. That looks good, however, I would like to have a second look at the command I just used. This command as is produced a correct outcome, but I did not like having to type the fiction/mystery portion 3 times and the fiction portion 2 or 3 times. The shell has a feature where you can use curly braces to group file and directory names that belong together, allowing us to shorten commands with similar or repeating path names. Let me remove what I have done so far and recreate these directories using the curly braces syntax. There is no need to write this command from scratch. The previous mkdir command can be recalled from history by pressing the up arrow. Now I will edit the command to combine the repeating path names into ones that use curly brace grouping. The fiction/mystery portion is fixed. Now I will follow that with a curly braced list of the 3 directories that go in there. The noir, thriller, and true crime directories are provided as a comma-separated list. Similar approach can be used to combine the creation of fantasy, romance, and science fiction directories. It is important that no spaces are added anywhere inside the curly braces, otherwise you will end up with unwanted directories with curly braces in their name. Let me run this and have a look at the results. The outcome is the same, but the updated command is much shorter and more elegant. The command itself went down from around 150 keystrokes to just over 100, making the pathname entry significantly faster and less typo-prone. The curly brace meta characters are not limited to the make directory command. They are a shell feature where the shell expands the list inside the braces before the actual command takes over. We even have an option to auto-generate sequences based on digits or letters of the alphabet. Here's an example using an echo command. This curly brace expression expands to every possible combination of a digit and letters A to C, which can be very useful if you need to create many files with similar names. Here's one more example where I will use curly braces to remove some of the files I just created. Let me continue. I will create the remaining 9 directories now with one make directory command too. Again, it is worthwhile to employ the curly braces to create some of the directories in nonfiction. Let's not forget the poetry directory located directly in library. Here's the final structure, a total of 18 directories inside library. Now I need to make 9 files, which can be accomplished using one touch command. But just for fun, I will make them from the politics directory. Let me go in there. The files can be created in any order. I will make them from the top, following the diagram. Autocomplete can be utilized now that the directories are already created. To make the index PDF in fiction, I need to reach 2 levels up. The first ... is the nonfiction directory, and the second ... is the library directory. Each level is represented by a ... symbol, as parent directories are never called by their name in a relative path name. Now down into the fiction directory, finishing up with the index PDF. Next file is the hidden membership ODT file, 2 levels up inside the library directory. The path to the .membership ODT file is relative to politics, which is my present working directory, just like when I made the index PDF file. Beginners often forget that the present working directory remains the same and write subsequent path names in a single command as if the previous path name somehow changed the present working directory. I will be in politics for all 9 path names used with this touch command, and all 9 path names will start over and over from politics. Now lost plus found bin, which goes in the parent directory. The post-1945 and pre-1945 file path names reach down into the domestic directory, so no ... at the beginning. I can use the curly braces to save myself from typing the domestic directory name twice. The politics all list file is in my present working directory, so the path name is just the file name. The unsorted DB file is inside parent, so the path name has to start with ... just like for the lost plus found bin. The last 2 files are classic PDF and modern docx inside poetry, grouped with curly braces. Let's run the command and have a look at the final outcome using the tree command. This time a path is required with the tree command. If I run it without a path, I will only see my present working directory, which is politics. Let me add the path name. Here it is. All is in place as it was originally. When you arrive at this point, it is possible that the resulting structure may not look exactly as you intended, especially if you forget to use the autocomplete feature when making the files. In such case, you may need to remove some content and recreate some portions of the structure. I introduced 3 commands in the previous video which I used to remove file system objects. Let me quickly review them. Just to mix things up a bit, I will do it from the nonfiction directory. I need to go 1 level up to get there. Removing regular files is done using the rm command. It is a straightforward process. For example, here I will remove the .membership ODT and pre-1945 txt file. Of course, I am using the tab to speed up the path entry. You can pause the video if you like to have a better look at the situation before and after this command. Empty directories are removed using the rmdir command. For example, this is how I removed the noir and thriller directories using curly braces to group the 2 directories together. Note that autocomplete tab does not work inside curly braces, so I need to type the 2 names manually. Non-empty directories, or a mix of empty, non-empty, and/or files, are removed using the rm-r command. Here's how I would remove the fantasy, domestic, and poetry directories. The rm-r command deletes entire directory structures without prompting. However, you can use a -i interactive option, which, when used with the -r recursive option, makes the rm-r operation a bit safer as you get prompted throughout the process. The -i option allows the user to remove items from a directory selectively. For example, I can selectively prune the fiction directory. The rm command will prompt me every step of the way, and I have an option to skip entire branches by not descending into them or skip individual files. Here's the final result of this interactive remove command. Empty or not, you cannot be in a directory you want to remove. For example, if I want to remove the entire nonfiction directory, where I am currently, I need to go somewhere else, for example, one level up, before nonfiction can be removed. That is all for this lesson. Skills such as efficient pathname use are essential, and I hope that you have a better understanding of them now. You will improve at it with practice, so keep at it. Go ahead to the next part, where I'll teach you how to move and copy files. Thanks for watching.